birthday episode featuring the one, the only, Kevin Weir. I haven't talked to Kevin since pretty much the apocalypse began. So I figured, and since I'm doing this new show, and Kevin's easily one of the most entertaining people I actually know. I couldn't think of a better guest to actually have coming onto the show. So, Kev, how you doing, man?
I am doing great. I'm in my basement, as I've done a few of these, like, hey, you're not meeting up now, we're just doing the interviews from basements type things, and it's been just a time. It really makes you self-conscious to realize that everybody will be just looking at the area just around your head and try to make it somewhat clean. But
I've stopped even noticing that stuff at this point. Seriously, man, I look at it kind of like this. I literally don't care what's on the other side of the screen anymore. I just don't. I look at it and I go, I really am not going to ask. I'm not going to ask where those sparkles came from. I'm not going to ask that noise in the background. It really doesn't matter anymore, right? It's not my concern. I'm not here.
I am kind of bummed about the way this is framed up, which I know you have an audio version of this, so this must just be thrilling for those people. But with the way this is framed, you can't see. I put a little bit of a background flare. It's a little crystal. God knows where I got it from. It's big and it's got heft to it. I found it. I think it grew in this basement, I guess.
That is interesting. You haven't so you got like a secret like minefield there, man. You got sparkly little things and rocks. I mean, you might be able to trade it in for something, man. You have to think big. Find the source and mine that shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna crawl through the hole in my wall and go on an adventure with the mole men. Just trying to get the quartz out.
Why not? I mean, hell, they got nothing else better to do at this point.
What else am I gonna do?
I mean, seriously, at this point, I think most of us would be like, you know what? If the guy offers to take us into a magical world far, far away from this, I think most of us would say yes at this moment.
All right, I have a pitch for you. You all come into my basement, and I want you to mine crystals for me, and this definitely isn't a blood diamond thing.
Okay.
I promise you.
I promise. It actually sounded eerily similar to, like, those World of Warcraft, like mining for gold things that happened in China way back in like the early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of looking at building your own operation there. Just make sure you have plenty of soda. Soda is important. Okay, right? Possibly caffeine, and depending on how adult your minions are, drugs. But we'll leave this entirely.
Don't worry, everybody. We got plenty of weed and Code Red.
Yeah, that's right. That's
We'll
right.
mine it until the wee hours of the morning.
Or, days and days and days and days. Like, however it goes, however it does. So, you're one of the happier people I know. Like, honestly, you're generally one of the happier people I know.
Yeah, I hide it well.
Yeah, I know. You hide the pain. I know. But it seems to like for you, I don't really want to talk about COVID too much because honestly, I think we're all at this point, we're all like, it's going to end this year, one way or the other. Either we're going to, either we're going to revolt, or we're going, or it's going to throw in a towel. Either way, at some point this year, something's going to give. I'm actually, I'm almost certain of it, actually.
Yeah, I don't see it going another year on, though, and it's been a year at this point. I think everybody has heard every different way that someone could talk about the whole pandemic. Like, I don't think there's anything new that I can add to a conversation that people haven't heard a million times on a million different podcasts. And
I wanted to start drinking pretty much after the first week.
Well, I don't drink. It's been a weird time for me.
I know. I actually generally do not drink either. Actually, I'm gonna let people know a secret. When I go out to when I interview people, and I used to do interviews in bars and cafes. Those were nice. I miss those so very much. But I'd have a drink with someone then if that was what we were doing. Or if I was at a cafe, I'd have a coffee. That's what we did. But I mean, I don't really need it. But it like what I was going to ask was this: you're generally one again. You're a happy guy. I mean, I'm not saying like you're just the happy guy, but I mean, you generally have a very positive, upbeat point of view.
Pretty
So
supportive,
how,
yeah.
yeah. So how have you been able to keep it? Have you been able like to keep it going? Have you been able to just or has it been a struggle?
I've heard this said a few times, which is that for people with my sort of mindset, they've been thriving in this time. Actually, uh, I'm just despite being quite what people would see as probably extroverted and loud and happy. I'm really good by myself for long periods of time. Uh, so I've been, I would say, probably very fortunate over all this, just because like I was fortunate enough to be one of the people who could keep my day job. I could be working from home. I am not. I live with two other people, so I mean, who knows if I didn't live with three other people. One's a baby, but that is my roommate. So I, uh, they don't like when I call the baby my roommate. They would prefer if I didn't do that, but it's true. So like it's hard to say, like, maybe if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't be as fine with all this. I'm pretty much good for the long haul at this point. So I have nothing to complain about. So
it didn't really impact you. It didn't impact you really in a negative way then, basically.
no, like it was weird going from working at an office to working at home. But now at that job, I've worked at home for longer than I've worked at the office. So it's going to be weird going back there when that happens.
Will you go back there?
As long as everything ends before next November. Because then after that, my contract's done, and not necessarily I'll go back, but
you're in an interesting position then, man. So you kind of got like, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but I think we're like you're kind of in a good spot. So
I am. It's hard for me to talk about the whole thing because I feel like I've been hit by it one of the least people in the world who can, because I know a lot of people are very struggling about like but seeing people. I think a lot of people who believed that they were good at being antisocial, or they were fine being alone, learned how much they would like to actually talk to others.
It's like for me, I'm somewhere like you. I'm good on my own. I like dealing with other people. So, and the thing about in my case in particular, I had already like you notice I made a decision to basically get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
yeah, but boy, your timing was wild.
I still kind of feel like I left at the right time, oddly enough. Just all the things I've seen from afar make me kind of glad I'm not there right now. I could be wrong on that, but it's one of those things. I felt like I got out just in time there. I felt like for me the decision was, do I stay in Vancouver when I can't work in the movie industry, which is why I went out there, or do I go home and be with my family at least for a year, and then figure out what I'm going to do next, which I already have a bunch of ideas what I want to do. Yeah. And so it's not like I haven't like planned for the inevitable here. I know that my time in Windsor, as I know it's going to come up sometime this year. I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're just like, this is serving a purpose, and I'm grateful for it. But I also know, like, again, I wasn't hit very hard either. I had the opportunity pretty much to try anything I wanted to try in the last year, which is a very good, cool freedom to have. Now, I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do. But I mean, that's the beautiful thing about life is you can choose tomorrow to start all over again anytime you want, and that's the positive side. The life being inherently unfair, things can go south, but you know what? Tomorrow you can do something completely completely brand new and it actually works out.
Yeah, I guess it's the difference between being unfair or just being unpredictable.
Well,
and if there's anything I think we learned in this past year is that unpredictability is definitely the word of the day.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been you definitely learn that anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah. This last week has been one hell of a year.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's been it's interesting to watch. I've learned also that, well, I've relearned this year is that by and large, it's amazing.
You buy large, okay?
Yeah.
Go to Costco.
Yeah, no, don't want to go to Costco. God, no, never.
Yeah, no,
never. Oh God, I Costco, Walmart, anything like that is like hell now. Like it's actually a weird. It is a very, very terrible. I realize how much.
Do you mean that? Do you mean that in general, or just in the world we've been living in for the last year?
Actually, in general.
Even in general,
I think honestly, it emphasized how much hell it really is. This year emphasized like this is hell, right? The only thing missing from Costco and Walmart's elevator music. It's about the only way to make it even more hellish.
Well, so before and I talked about this last time we talked together. So before I started working at this day job, I was what I would call fun employed for a long time, where I would be effectively unemployed, but I'd be doing really random jobs along the way. But that sort of made my schedule all weird. So if I did have to go to a big box place where I knew there'd be a lot of people, I could always try to find a way to slide in there while no one was around, which was ideal. Then once you join the rest of the world, that's no longer an option anymore. Though at this point, I think a lot of people are figuring out that it is an option.
Yeah, no, it actually really is. You just have to learn. You learn how to do. There's a skill set. I've learned this when I've done all my travels. You can get in and out of pretty much any place inside of 15 minutes. Even now, you can still do it.
Yeah, any place. Grocery stores, Costco, Best Buy, the bank vault, any place. In and out in 15 minutes.
In and out in 15 minutes. No, it doesn't matter. Like as long as you have a plan and you don't deviate too much, you're good. The only thing I've learned about grocery stores is don't do it on an empty stomach. You will fuck that shit up. You will fuck that shit up.
No, that's true. You don't grocery shop on an empty stomach.
Yeah, it's just nothing good comes from that. You end up with stuff. You go and you ask yourself, why did I buy this? That's right. I was hungry, and I was craving this. I don't know why the hell I was craving this, but I was craving this, and now I'm stuck with it. Does anyone want?
I was gonna say, so I do think it's important we do move on from the COVID stuff to maybe things a little more fun. But I do want to ask: do you have a individualized mask you wear, or?
No, oh God, no. I have three things. I have a visor, which I generally like to wear. Right. I like. So, I have the smiley mask.
Okay.
The mask with a smiley face on it. And then, but for the most part, when I have to wear a mask, I just get any old thing, for as long as I can, and just get off.
Well, I see people out there and they got ones where it's like people are they're the surgical mask people. They're just wearing that, and then there's people who have like the black cotton mask that they've definitely gone from somewhere with the filter in it. It's just interesting to see what people are.
I you know what seeing as I had lots of experience with masks with my day job prior to this, I hated them. I actually found because I did a physical job, so it actually took more out of me to wear the damn things than it was not to wear the damn things. So I got into the habit of so I was just like those filtered. They usually use these filtered N95 masks. I got out of the habit of wearing them because it's like, dude, I'm a lot more tired with this fucking thing on than when I was not wearing this fucking thing. So I took it off. I said, I'll just do it. I'll clean up afterwards. And I mean, the job was dirty to begin with too. And it was just like, so I hate that. Like, oh God, I hate that shit so much. I mean, it's unbelievable. it's like, wow, I get my worst nightmare every freaking day I go into a store, because it's like, why am I wearing this? Because this is what.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you don't breathe on people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to kiss them either. It's just one of those things. Like I get why we're doing it in theory.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I just look at it and go, what a crock of shit. Like that's that's how I look at it. Like it or lump it. That's just how I look at it. It's a reminder of my day job, which I try to get away from.
So it's kind of a psychological thing. It reminds you of your day job in your off time.
Yeah, I don't.
This is fair.
Yeah, I don't. So,
yeah.
But
no, I work with a lot of medical people, so I hear a lot of talk about the proper use of masks. And we actually, at my job, we did we trained a lot of the medical professionals of how to properly use PPE and masks and all those things. So I'm very aware of the of the use of personal protective equipment.
Oh gosh.
But I mean, personally, I actually like it. My thing has always been is that despite the amount of times I will put myself in a position to be up in a place where everyone can see me, I'm not if I don't, if I'm not up on stage, if I'm not doing a panel or doing a live stream, I feel very exposed all the time. So wearing a mask and that's why I wear like masks and hats and hoodies. I like being very, very covered up. So being able to also wear a mask is pretty much great. It means like no facial expressions. I can just sort of be,
Yeah, but anyone looks into your eyes will actually see the facial expressions, because you kind of twinkle when you're playing with people. So,
well, that's why I wear sunglasses and I look like a freak.
So you look like one of those poker players, like one of those guys who's trying to win the big money.
Oh my god, I would love to see a poker tournament at this time and see if the people would wear the masks. Like, that would be such a advantage for all those people trying to, be stone-faced.
Well, you're trying to high tells, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like you're playing in a format where people are trying to read your body language, and so everybody's got tells they can't hide. It's about looking for them. And so like those masks are, especially like the black, like not the surgical so much, but the actual
the cotton ones, the cotton reusable ones.
Yeah. So those ones are great for that. It's one of those things, and you can look like a ninja or like Shredder, and like totally that way I would pay to see. If a guy showed up like Shredder at a football tournament, that would be amazing.
With the full-on blades on anything. Especially if he's that Shredder from those Michael Bay movies where it's like he's got knives everywhere. He's just a man of knives.
Well, no, I'd let him take my money. I think.
How would you stop him?
Yeah, exactly. No, I would be cooperative. Like I would be the first guy to be like, just take my money. Can I just go? I'll just give you my money and I leave. That's it. I just don't want to deal with the fact that you got knives, and I don't want to see what's going to happen here, because if I see anything happen here, I'm not leaving. I want to leave now. So here's my money. I'm going to run.
This guy comes thumping down the aisle, like knocking over slot machines and drinks out of people's hands, and he sits down, and you're just like, push your chips over, and I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't care enough for this.
No, it's just like See, here's the thing. Like the moment this is just like me back when I lived in London, Ontario, with car thieves and drug dealers. I learned a very valuable lesson at a very young age.
If a man walks up to you covered in knives, you just be like, "All right, I'm out."
Well, no. If you know, like you're safe. No, this is the thing. Like you're safe until you see something illegal going down, right? So because no one cares. I remember this is a high school story. There was a gentleman by the name of Bubbles. That was his high school nickname. His name was Bubbles. I remember going to the bathroom at communications class, and I come out, and he's just waiting at the front door for just no reason I could really think of at the time. Right. And then it dawned on me what he was actually waiting for. It was like, hi, Bubbles. Hey, Josh. Have a good day, Bubbles. thanks, man. Have a good day too. I was fine. I saw nothing.
Would you figure he was just waiting at the front doors? You figure he was waiting for
Drugs.
drugs?
Yeah.
I mean, notably, doors are places where drugs are dealt.
Yeah, this is just one of those, like, that was the area of the school where drugs are dealt. And it just occurred to me, it's like, everyone's in class, no one's paying attention. If I was going to do something sketchy, this is the time to do something sketchy.
Yeah, but I mean, every high school has the sketchy area.
Yeah.
So, like, if they're the sketch. In my high school, there was just a bunch of shipping crates for some reason out near the school. And you could just go in between the shipping crates. That's where sketchy stuff happened. I don't know why there were shipping crates.
Yeah. like someone just like build it and just like, here's the zone, and no one asked questions.
I assume at some point there was like something inside the shipping crates, and they were supposed to move the shipping crates, and then just never. Like, I'm talking about like on a shipping, like a container shipping crates.
Yeah. I know. That's why it feels that's why like it's like I'm like, why are they? And it's like maybe once upon a time something or something. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where you just look at it and go,
I don't know.
This is oddly convenient.
I can tell you that they were at least there for 3 years, but outside of that,
I mean, that's the thing. Like this is convenient. Thank you. I guess. Like, you know what I mean? It's just one of those. So, no, but I learned from all my interesting friends, not just Bubbles, but all my interesting friends. They're great as long as you do not witness anything they're up to.
I mean, that's. I mean, yeah. As long as you don't see
common sense, it really does. But you'd be amazed how many people go, "Hey, I want to be part of this stuff, man." There's like, I want to be one of the cool kids.
Yo, you doing a drug deal? Can I hang around?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, man.
Hey, what you guys doing? Selling drugs? That's cool.
Yeah, it's just like yeah, I can't believe I grew up with this stuff. But I mean, this is just one of those things where, there were people, like, again, people did things, and you recognize very on that people are going to do things. As long as you didn't judge them, and as long as you very much lived and let live, you just did your thing. They let you do your thing. They didn't care, right? It's just one of those things where it's just like, I just don't get involved. Because the moment you see something, you can't unsee it, and now you're involved. And that was something. That was something I learned at a very young age. So if I saw a guy with knives coming to the table, I'd like this is what I don't want to see what happens next.
To bring this back around,
yeah.
If a man approaches your table cosplaying a shredder
and actually has real knives and is actually stabbing people, or it looks like he could stab people, just leave. Just don't stick around, because you're not gonna like what you see next. And
well, at the very least, someone's about to throw him out of the casino. You don't need that in your life.
Yeah. Just go. Just whatever you're gonna see next is just not worth the payoff.
I don't.
And if he wins, you're not leaving. So I mean, that's.
I don't understand what I did wrong. You're wearing a suit of knives. I don't see the problem there. I wear this everywhere.
Does anyone bother you? No, they're very nice to me for some
reason. No one has ever raised a fuss about my suit of knives before.
Yes.
I assumed it was okay.
Yeah.
I apologize and will be on my way.
That would be fantastic. Like,
I think at this point I've had 3 different stories I've written that have some above casual relation to people playing cards like poker. So I don't gamble. It's not really a thing I do, but I had to look up a lot of information about the ins and outs of, like, man, the poker community and the different types that are played throughout the eras. So it's incredible the things that you learn without ever being involved in the I guess, the community at all.
Yeah, you do miss some of the nuances, but you get like the general information's out there. You just won't look
Well,
for it.
I've become very interested in it, and thankfully, so many channels are doing it now on YouTube. All those professional gambler reacts to gambling scenes, or bomb disposal expert reacts to bomb disposal scenes. Like I love those. I love seeing experts being able to talk about the thing they're an expert in.
Yeah, it's really a cool thing. I've learned that oh, cool. Yeah, no, I gotta check that out. Sorry, someone sent me some here. So I basically, what do I want to say? When I was, for me, like a lot of my game theory, like the game theory stuff, the gambling stuff, I learned playing Magic the Gathering, actually.
I did play Magic the Gathering.
What?
I did play Magic the Gathering.
It's a lot, like when you get to high level play in Magic, right? There is a lot of similar stuff, because what you're trying to figure out it's ultimately the same objective. I'm trying to figure out what you have in your hand, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out what you have in your hand and see if I have an answer for what you have in your hand, right? And what are the odds of you having, like in Magic, you have usually four copies of a certain card.
Yeah.
If you have it, how many have you played? How many have you dealt with? What are the odds of you getting another one? Right.
As you play Commander, of course.
Yeah, no, Commander's a different format. I'm talking about just standard, right? And the thing about that was, like, I got very good at figuring out what I was playing, what was likely to be played, and how to answer it, right? And that was my whole thing with Magic. Poker's not that different. You're trying to figure it out based on the cards you see, the number of players in the game, which can definitely mess up math, but you can definitely do it. There's a math aspect to it there too. You figure out the odds of certain things happening, right? Yeah. It's not perfect. Luck is a big part. There's always a random variable to it, and then there's always chance, and that's a big part of the game as well. But you can figure out very early on. You can get a good idea of what people have and how people choose to play certain things. But the biggest thing about poker is, are they lying or not? Right? That's the thing about poker. It's like, it's not what they have. It's like, do they really have it, or are they full of shit?
And I think that's a reason why gambling games appear, especially card-based gambling games, any games where you play against someone else, appear so much in pop culture, is because it can be used to demonstrate so many things about a character. It could be used to demonstrate a character's charisma in their bluffing. It could be used to demonstrate a character's intelligence and being able to keep track of cards and assume and figuring out probabilities of this person playing this. Or it can be used to play off a character's empathy and ability to read other people. It can be used in so many different ways, or just to show someone's unlucky, or to show that someone it gets angry when they lose. Like, there's so much that putting someone in a poker game does for a character. I would almost suggest it as a writing exercise for people.
Oh, it's fantastic, because it's almost, you can tell a whole story in a game itself, which is what it actually is really, really interesting, because it's like, well, the guy that thinks he knows what he's doing and the guy that turns him into his personal ATM machine. That's hilarious. I've seen that many a time in poker, where I'm just like, I hate bad play. Like I'm not necessarily a great player. I'm too aggressive. Like, I know this with me personally. I play a really aggressive game. I'm lucky enough that I can usually get myself on somewhat of a decent roll, and then I overplay it. So I know this is a weakness of me. But again, I can also tell when people are the other thing about poker is interesting too, is you're basically bribing people not to play. Right? Because if you can knock somebody out of the pot, you don't have to beat them. You've already they're done. Whereas the people that stay in the game, well, now you got to beat them. It's like, oh shit! Like, are my cards really good enough? Right? And that's like Hold'em. I'm talking about Hold'em specifically here. but it's an interesting thing. Like you could tell so many stories just based on strategy, a player's body language. Because even with whether the person's a good gambler, a bad gambler, an ATM machine, someone that's just bored to tears and it's like, I'm stuck in this game and I'm just trying to get to the money. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
And there's so many different stories you can tell. It's a great
and usually they're not about the outcome of the poker game. That's usually I've never written a poker game where the outcome of the game is that important to the story. Usually it's what's going on for the people within it.
That's only interesting if it's like in a situation like where you're playing two really good players.
Yeah.
Right. And they just have and they have just like there's just then that's more interesting because it's like I always get his name wrong. Like his first name, it's Ian. Is it Ian?
Who I don't know the end of it. Ian is a name.
Banks.
Ian Banks?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Well, he's a novelist. He played one of my favorite. Like he did a gamer novel called The Player Games. Guy was a master of every game. So outcomes were very important, but it was also I loved like the last game in the book was about two warring cultures, and they were telling the story of their cultures in the game, which was a really fascinating idea. Like what I've learned is almost like in stories now, the circumstances almost don't matter, other than they set up the fact that how people react and the little nuances. Like that's the stuff you're playing with in storytelling.
Yeah. I think it's very important. Remember we were talking about Magic the Gathering? That was a fun 5 minutes.
Yes, it was. Did you want to talk more about Magic the Gathering?
No, I feel like we have talked to. Have we talked about Magic the Gathering before? Because I brought up the fact that I don't make good decks, like on purpose, really. Yeah. I just make fun ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did that once myself. I actually I will get into Magic again at some point. Commander.
Yeah,
but
Commander's a lot of fun. I haven't played it in years.
Commander's really fun format. I really enjoy it. But for me, it's going to be the coin toss deck. I'm going to go with coin. I'm going to beat you by flipping coins because why not?
I have two decks that I love. I have one which is probably one of the more aggressive ones I play, which is I just call DJ Brago's dubstep beat because the commander is this guy named Brago. And the entire thing is essentially a flicker deck. So
okay.
The idea being that it's all about removing things from the field and putting them back on to keep on using their
enter the battlefield effects. Yeah. Oh, that's actually a really strong deck.
Yeah, well, because Brago's specific ability is that if he hits the enemy commander, all of your cards essentially flicker. But because he's blue-white, all it's doing is just putting cards back in your hand. It's a very frustrating deck to play against. But the one that I like to bring up all the time, which is the deck I call Your Deck, which is all copy cards. So if you're playing a coin flip deck, it means I'm playing a coin flip deck. Because every card you have, I just copy.
I think I win that one, though. Just because,
potentially.
Because the only problem with the clone deck is your deck's only as good as your opponent's.
I mean, yes. Yeah.
Since my deck is on purposely bad, your deck's, it'll be hysterical.
Well, no, what I like about it is that it's a different game to play every time.
Absolutely.
Like, especially if you do the commander 4-way, which I think is really how they like it being played, where you have a bunch of people with the commanders out, is that you just got to like pick and choose the best thing from everybody's deck as they're playing it. And you're like, cool, I like all this stuff.
Clever Impersonator is my favorite clone.
Yeah.
So, that's just my opinion.
Anyway, that's some deep cut Magic the Gathering stuff for anybody.
That's right.
I guess.
Right. We have left the Magic the Gathering part of this conversation behind. What are you reading right now?
What am I eating right now?
No, reading.
Reading right now. I just bought 11 audiobooks because I accidentally left my Audible account running for a year. So I'm currently listening to a bunch of audiobooks. So I picked a whole bunch of them up. Some of them were books I've wanted to read/listen to for a while. Some of them are ones that I just found on the site. I'm like, oh, these are cool. So I think on my list, I'm starting with, I wanted to read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer.
Jim Vandermeer. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
For a while, because I love the film, and I know the book's different from the film, but I mean, yeah. I wanted to get that. And then also on the list I have, God, what are the things that I have? Like, as I said, 11 books bought at once. I know somewhere there I have Gideon the Ninth, because I've heard good things about Harold the Ninth, but I gotta get through the first one. I have Aaron Morgenstern's The Starless Sky, I think it's called. Man, I got a lot of them at once, but really that's what I'm doing. Is I'm going through with audiobooks right now.
So for me, it's stuff like this.
Spy Family.
So it's about a spy.
Did you? Okay, either you or someone who's very much like you once explained that book to me, which I do not know if that's a compliment or an insult, but either you or someone like you explained that book to me.
Really? Someone like me.
Someone like you. Well,
I just found it. I literally just found it about 2 weeks ago.
It must be someone like you.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can remember it. So it is a family, and they're all like individual spies, and they're told to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of. He's a spy. His wife's an assassin, and their daughter's a telepath. So
yes.
Yeah. And I read the concept, and I was like, I'm in. I'm just in. It's just one of those things where I just looked at it and said, this is the most ridiculous. This is something I'd make up. This is literally something I make up. I'm in. I'm just in. No, for me, I'm embracing I'm definitely embracing my sillier side in this time. I used Lego. I used a Lego, and I figured out how to draw a porn stash with Lego.
Cool.
Yeah, which I mean, which shows how either mature or immature I really am.
No,
I haven't decided yet. It was an accident, but it was just one of those things where I just realized because what I was looking to draw. I'm working on this right now.
Yeah.
I've actually been illustrating. I don't know if you actually been watching anything I've been doing, but I've been
seeing some of your draw and drink and draw and talk and yeah.
Yeah. So I've been drawing with some amazing people. I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I did. So anyway, so ironically, this is my sister. I was going to do the next draw in bed. I'm doing a D&D, but I want to do a Lego Paladin.
All right.
So there's all kinds of cool Lego Paladins. Like I mean, like Lego makes anything. Like that's the cool
yes,
stuff.
yeah,
right. So I tried. I figured I'd do this grizzled guy with a beard. And I realized after I drew the mustache part of him, it's like that's a porn stash.
So when you say porn stash, you mean like the real thick?
Yeah. It's like that's a porn stash.
I like this image of you drawing a Lego man and being like, well, I'll get this Lego man in here, but then this really like photorealistic mustache that came out like way too much of a different style. Like you were somebody possessed.
I might do that. Because here's the thing. My sister goes to me. She goes to me. Okay, I want a Lego Paladin from you. I'm calling it as my birthday present. I'm using that card on you.
I have bad news. Now he's a porn star.
Yeah. Damn right.
He's a paladin. He's a paladin of that dick.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's like, here you go.
Happy birthday. I'm sorry.
I'm not sorry. You guilt tripped me into this? I'm not sorry. Enjoy. But no, it's cool. I never imagined myself doing this. Like not in a million years. I always thought I couldn't do it. Well, I lied to myself.
All of my drawings come out like, what's the best way to describe this? You know when you're watching a horror movie and you see like a young child, like a young boy or a young girl, and they're hunched over a piece of paper and they kind of got the look like their hands just doing that, and you're like, I wonder what that child is drawing. And then the adult will like pick it up and they'll be like, that's the kind of drawings how mine turn out. They're always heavy-handed and scratchy.
There's nothing wrong with being so.
It's got a style. It's got a distinct style, that's for sure.
It's a distinct style. That's a positive. It sounds fairly similar to someone that's actually like a DJ at a concert, like heavy hands and yeah.
It helps that I hold my pencil like this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just go like that. I mean, just only.
I go wooka wooka as I draw.
That's fantastic.
I might be a psychopath, but
that's why we love you, Kev. That's why we love you.
It's the same reason why people watched Hannibal.
Yes. It's like the thing that can't look away.
You can't look away, and sometimes you eat the people.
Sometimes.
Everybody's chewed their nails. That's eating a person.
Sure.
It's you eating yourself.
Sure.
Cannibalism, I guess.
I guess. How the hell did we get here?
Weirdly enough, through DJs.
Yes. DJs, that might be the YouTube clip. I'm just going to warn you up front. I've been doing YouTube clips of all my stuff too, so just like, I think that one might have made it. It might have. I'm not sure. But we'll see what else we can come up with in the time we have. You still doing your podcast?
I am actually still doing my podcast. I'm doing both my podcasts. My sister is fortunately able to be part of my cohort, so we're actually still able to record in person. We had a while where we had to separate for a while, but because of the regulations here in Alberta, she's able to be part of my cohort because she lives alone. She doesn't have anyone else lives in her house with her. So, but that's for Mystery Outsiders and Abs, which we just wrapped up doing this series called Star-Crossed. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It came out in 2013 on the CW. It was only one season, but it was a sci-fi Romeo and Juliet. So it was about this ship that crash lands on Earth, and then the human military just shoots the shit out of them because they think they're invading, despite the fact that the ship crashed. And now it's like 10 years later, it's like 2024. They're all rounded up in one area, and it's about a human girl and the Atrian are the alien, so an alien boy who fall in love, and there's a lot of. It's really good, actually. It's really well done. It's good near future stuff. There's really good light tech. It's supposed to be in 2024. Sorry, no, 2024. Yeah, 2024. So it's not like we're actually going to see the things that we're seeing in that show, but it's pretty good for when it was coming out. And man, it was made by the executive producer on Haunting of Hill House. So they went on from doing Star-Crossed to doing Haunting of Hill House. So they're just Meredith Averill, I want to say her name is. Yeah. So we're just finishing up Star-Crossed. Riverdale's coming back, so we're going to be back to doing our recaps on Riverdale. And boy, that just makes me tired every time I think about it. That show.
Why are you? Well, I know why you're doing it. You have this bizarre thing. You're like me in the sense let's do a show that I would never touch on my own and kind of see what I get out of it. If I get it.
Yeah, I have a deep and intense need to punish myself. So I made me and my sister watch Riverdale, and it has been a time. I'm not gonna lie, it's been both enjoyable and maddening in equal amounts. And at least we do a podcast. At least we can share it with the world, as is our curse.
So who's the one in more pain, you or her?
I think usually it's me. Occasionally it's her. I
could actually see her suffering on this one.
Yeah, Riverdale hits hard in certain areas. The thing is that she's more of a fan of the whole teen drama scene in general. Our off season used to be we would do the OC while Riverdale wasn't around. But she would watch OC and One Tree Hill and find some enjoyment in those. So I think seeing something where she can recognize all the trappings, but it itself is not great, can suck. And mostly for me, it's written very oddly, I think is the term I want to use. I don't necessarily want to say bad, but definitely odd. It's odd writing structure. They're coming into their 5th season now. Filming through the COVID. We'll see how that kind of reflects on the screen.
If it reflects at all, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I do think there is an interesting opportunity right now in that you can actually. It's almost like when stuff gets made again, it's almost like we're going to go back to the old rules of cinema again. One of the things that's kind of happened in the modern era is, I mean, these rules still exist and they work great. They tell great stories, but no one uses them. Now everybody's going to kind of have to use them because there's a lot that's not going to be there.
Yeah, we're just for like this year, there had to be a lot of thoughts around using minimal cast, trying to keep things as trimmed down as possible. You're not gonna have these big, huge, crowds wandering around. You got to try to keep things really self-contained, which is interesting. Shows adapt to that. Yeah, it's. I know that some of the things that have shot through the pandemic have already come out. Some of them are addressing it. Some of them are, deciding to ignore it. I don't think either one's a bad choice. The only thing I think is a bad choice is that Songbird film, which I will unabashedly always say I think was a bad choice.
You know what? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I've hardly watched anything during the pandemic. I'm one of those weird because so this is all I've been able to watch. I finally got to the fairy tale Tartaros arc, and I've stopped because literally that's like 60 episodes of my life that I'm not going to get back. Now I'm going to enjoy it. It's everything I've kind of like. The build up for the series has been to this arc, so I know the payoffs are going to be pretty sweet when I get through them. But it's 60 episodes, and I've been like, this is kind of like my full-time job now. I've been doing lots of things with this.
Yeah.
I'm writing books and columns and doing and drawing stuff like porn stashes.
Yeah.
Well, there's from a priority standpoint, watching stuff has not been my thing.
The thing that I've been really giving Netflix at least some credit for is somewhat the resurgence of miniseries. I don't say resurgence. I don't know if there's really been like a drought of miniseries, but like or just shorter seasons. I think seasons were too long. I think TV seasons were way too long. Like, as much as enjoyable, Buffy is, you think about a season of Buffy and most of those episodes you're kind of ignoring. Like, fun stuff happened in them, but they're not like the main core things. But then you watch something like Stranger Things, or you watch Haunting of Hill House or Haunting of Bly Manor, and they're 8, 10, 13 episodes, and they tell a tight, condensed, good story. And then whether or not they go on to another season is not always important.
Well, it's also just, I think, the difference of the medium. Right, okay, so television, historically speaking, good television has always had an Act 1, an Act 2, and Act 3, except for syndicated shows. Most of them get caught into Act 1 and Act 2, and that's on by design. How I Met Your Mother could have been a really brilliant show if it had been allowed to end at season 4 or 5. Right? It would have been a lot stronger. But here's what happens. One, television, because at the time we still weren't streaming like we were now, right? So you were building an audience. One of the reasons television seasons were so long was because you were telling a story over a period of months to a year. Whereas when you're binging, you're basically, people are getting their story anywhere from one day to a week, and you told your story, right? So there's more of an emphasis today on telling an Act 1, 2, 3, because people want that whole story, and people now are no longer waiting a year for it. they're waiting for, they're just getting that 1, that 2, that 3, and they're moving on to something else. And if you've done something really good, they'll come back to do something else.
Well, it's also the rush for syndication. A lot of shows back in the day really wanted, like, the way you would really make a lot of your money back was getting syndicated. So you could, and so they would have these, so big long seasons, get up to 100 episodes, get syndicated. What we're seeing with the shorter seasons is a lot of the premium cable stuff. It used to be stuff that would be, you'd watch on HBO. That's where Game of Thrones was. And I think also with the longer seasons, those tend to fare better in things that are more procedurals versus syndicated. So that's the reason why CSI and Bones and NCIS, a million different things.
NYPD Blue, I got to watch. That is something I did get a chance to see for the first time. Like, this is how out of it I am in pop culture. I saw why that show worked. After watching it, I watched about, we're gonna say, 10 episodes. I figured out really why this show worked. It's great for syndication. It's perfect. It's got a great little formula. It's tight, right? You get an act 1, 2, 3, and you get that little bit of character development, right?
Yeah.
And so the characters feel like they're real people. There's growth in all of these, like, spots that are really, really cool. But you also get the impression but you also, like, you get that fix. You get those moments here, moments there.
Because back then they also couldn't guarantee that the audience would see every single episode. So they had to be set up so that even if they miss an episode, it doesn't matter. They can just drop back in. It'll be fine. They haven't missed anything. Missing an episode of Game of Thrones would throw people off immensely, I'm sure. I never watched Game of Thrones.
I didn't either.
I had no interest in it.
It wasn't really that. I didn't want to let George R.R. Martin off the hook. That was the
I know. I still believe he's the reason that Elden Ring is taking so long. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It's just funny that.
It's because television show I thought was fine, but I'd already committed to the book series, so I hate myself just a little bit for that. But I did, and from what I gathered, and this is just based on, I haven't seen it. I could guess on some of it, but I haven't seen it. That season 7 did not receive the same critical acclaim the rest of the series did.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and I know why. They ran out of material.
Well, I know some of the behind the scenes stuff are also, like, the creators of the show kind of really were done with it. They kind of wanted to wrap it up. And I think they were offered more episodes, and they took less episodes because they just sort of wanted to wrap up the story. I'm not like I was there in the room and I can say
but yeah, and maybe they just wanted to do it so badly that no one would want it anymore. That's kind of because here's the thing, right? Something I've learned a long time ago. If you really want to get out of doing a job, do it poorly. Do it so badly no one even wants to think of you coming near it again.
Yeah, but that's a dangerous thing to do in film, because those two were on tap to do Star Wars.
Yeah,
I think they lost the Star Wars series. I don't think they're doing the Star Wars series anymore.
No, but that's the thing, right? That's the risk they took.
But I think the thing is, that was the end of it anyways. I don't think they had to do badly, or else people would be like, yeah, now that all the characters are dead, do more Game of Thrones.
Well, no. Well, actually, with the way Game of Thrones works, they could have killed every character and it still could have continued. The way that structure was designed, that story structure is designed, the characters were in it. The concept was, but didn't necessarily rely on any one particular character. Now it's better. It's better with some characters than others, but for sure. But I mean, it didn't need it. I just like from what I heard, Daenerys's resolution was a huge cheat to everything that came before. So and you buck the expectations of your audience in a way that's very, very non-intuitive, you lose them. And that's what happened to Game of Thrones in the 7th season. So I'm like this, like, since I didn't see it, I can sit back and hope very, very much that George will write those last 2 books. I also, might be able to buy the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor first. I mean, it's possible, right?
I think there were 2 guys sitting here talking about a series that neither of us watched.
Yeah.
If that's not an encapsulation of internet comments, I don't know what it is.
Exactly. I because like I said, I did watch a few episodes early when it was very faithful to the show. Mm-hmm. But just based on everything I was hearing, like, it just turned into a very, very it went against the expectations of the audience. And I mean, once you do that, you're done.
I mean, the problem is that I couldn't get into the books either. I did not like the writing style.
It was tough. Like, even like for me, that series, like, that where that series would have hooked you as from a writing style standpoint, are the characters. Where could the characters overcome the structure, because the structure was very disjointed. That was the thing about it. It felt very much like you're getting a story, but you're getting it like from so many different eyes. It's like whereas if you went to something a little bit more traditional in the epic fantasy, like you read The Wheel of Time or Brandon Sanderson's books, which they're all awesome, but they do go back and forth, but you get that full picture they're seeing before he goes to another perspective. Right?
It wasn't even like the many characters. It's just I felt like the actual writing style, the way it was written, came off as very dry, and wasn't super enjoyable for me to.
Okay, that's fair.
Get through. It felt at times that like I was reading a textbook to a world that I did not live in.
Textbook to the world, and you weren't interested in really finding out more about either.
Yeah, like this person is the son of this person who's the nephew of this person. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. It's the same thing as some of the more drier portions of Lord of the Rings. Like, you essentially learn to skip over anything that's italicized, but you skip over the songs in Lord of the Rings. I don't want to say that I am alone in this. You skip over the songs. When someone's like, and now allow me to explain something, allow me to sing a full song in the middle of this book, and you're like, all right, italicized, let's see where we go after this. And I get it. Oh, but the lore, it tells you more about the lore of the world. Like, I don't need lore. It's fun, but that's for like end stuff. I want to first see what's going on. That's why I like the whole Dark Souls series so much, for the story. Because yes, it's very lore heavy, and it's like, oh, you're reading the descriptions of items, and you're looking around the world and sort of like piecing things together. But you can also in Dark Souls just decide, I don't care, let's hit some bosses with big old swords. You can kind of choose your level of engagement in it. And if you want to engage really deeply with those types of games, with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you get a whole lot out of it. But if you don't engage, you still get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's interesting you went to video games. I made a really wonderful discovery last year in terms of what games provide that books do not. Mm-hmm. And when I understood this, that makes sense.
What do you think games provide that books do not? Because I also have an idea here, but I'd like to hear what you say.
Interaction. Interaction is the language of games. That is ultimately the language that is the language that games tell their stories. It doesn't matter what the game is, it's all in the interaction. When I look at, say, the game, let's say, like, you talk Dark Souls. I'm a Final Fantasy 13 fan. I know there's just like one other person besides me that really loves this game. That's fine. I'm good with that. But one of the things I really, really appreciate.
The online one? No, that's 14. 14's the online.
No, I don't. Okay. I will not touch an online game. I will not ever do it. I did it twice. After that, I said no mas because I can't afford to do it. And that was this. I tried World of Warcraft, and I thought I'll try this game. 8 hours later, I said, "Hell, damn, this is a good game. I won't do that again." And the second time, it was like, I can't play this game. I just can't. I realized like I just couldn't do it. So I shut it down, and I recognized like because it's everything. Like the thing about like those online games, it's not just the game itself; it's the community stuff you're doing too. It's got everything to basically kill your time forever. And I'm like, I am not mature enough. I'm not mature enough for Netflix. I'm not mature enough. I'm not mature enough for online game. I'm just not. And I just know this. I just know this about myself. I am adult enough to realize where I'm not an adult.
Yeah, I've never been. I never got drawn to MMOs that much. But I feel that way with like Civilization. For some reason, Civilization is just a game that I'll install it and then I'll play it for like 12 hours and be like, oh, that was a mistake, and then I'll uninstall it and I'll install it again, later. Sorry, you say, but I didn't mean to throw you off your groove. You're saying about interaction.
So Final Fantasy 13's got a similar thing. You go deep. Like the cool thing of it is you can just play through the game, and you don't necessarily need anything to the story. There's a point in the game. So what everybody hated about that game was the fact that for the first I'd say about half the game, you don't really control where you're going. You're just being led somewhere. I enjoy it because from a story perspective, this is true. You are being led down this path on purpose. That's part of that's part of what's going on. You're trying to fight breaking free, but you're still being led down this path.
Yeah.
You finally get to the point in the game where you can explore everything. There's a point. You can still keep going and playing the game, right? There's not much left in terms of levels, but there's so much more game in this one spot. You can open things up. You can go into the mythology. You can get the lore. It suddenly becomes very enriching, much like Dark Souls. It can be a very enriching game. Or I can keep going. I can skip all this crap, and I can get my base story out of it for its conclusion. And that's the thing. That's the advantage games have. Games have the ability to go like, you can be as little or as much involved as you want.
Yeah.
Books don't. You can do. There are things you can do in books that can add to that. That can add to it, but it's much harder because there's a lot there. At some point, it's about realizing what your story needs and what it doesn't. And there's only so many ways you can incorporate that into your story. In the Cloud Diver, I use a social media feed to do my world building because honestly, I thought that would be a really neat way to do it. And also, it gets around, since I write in first person, it gets around the plot holes that the problem writing in first person is first person cannot know the whole plot because otherwise he's a know-it-all.
Yeah. Or you write a million scenes of someone overhearing someone else.
Yeah, which sucks. Whereas if I have a social feed, I can skip all that crap. I use a social feed to do that, to fill the gaps I need to fill in, but also now I can create nuances about the world that my character will never necessarily have to talk about.
I mean, there's a reason why first person usually thrives in mystery genres, because the discovery is all the entire part of it, which sort of brings me into what I think I agree with you very very much with what sets games apart. I think I use a different word for it though. It was very similar to what you said. I think really what sets apart game storytelling in video games is discovery. Is the fact that video games can set things up for you to figure them out for yourself and to really figure them out for yourself. Like that's what I enjoy about the Dark Souls games, that you feel like you are discovering things about the world and you're making suppositions and you're figuring those things out. Another indie game that was really good at that was The Outer Wilds. Was an amazing game that's all about discovery. You're going through it and you are learning things in such a interesting way that I think is not possible in books. Like I mean, you can do the writing, the very there's a specific word for it, but like the utilitarian writing, almost the one where it's you don't really explain anything. You let the audience, you just let things happen. The audience, will figure it out or they won't figure it out. But they can be rather hostile at times. But in a game, saying, "Hey, yeah, you got to figure it out for yourself," is seen as a challenge to be overcome rather than a hostile. Nah, nah, I'm not gonna bring this to you. You do it yourself. Yeah.
No, I said that's the advantage games have. Like books, you have to be very. You do need, especially like I think in an epic fantasy, you do need a sense of lore, like a bigger story being told somewhere. You can have your story be a very basic story, but you always have to have that hint of something more.
Yeah, and some books do it really well.
Yeah.
Like I think I always thought that Brandon Sanderson did, despite being very verbose, his books are very long. He does a good job of packing a lot into things, so you feel the wider world even as you're just going through, especially in the Mistborn series. I really like the Mistborn series. That's usually when talking about Brandon Sanderson, that's usually what I'm talking about. Is
Mistborn's a great series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the Way of Kings. I love the Stormlight Archive too. It's like that's to me though. Here's the thing, like guys, book size, I agree. I had to choose between taking Von Lee. This is a tough choice. Von Lee or Brandon Sanderson. You know why? I went with Von Lee for two reasons. Smaller books. I got a lot, and that's saying a lot when Von is pretty verbose herself. And two, the thing about Sanderson is I definitely see Robert Jordan's influence in his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I see it.
Just density wise.
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. I love Brandon. I've met Brendan Sanderson. I won a signed squirrel's nest from Brendan Sanderson. I won by losing to him, but I got a squirrel's nest. Not
Magic
gathering card squirrel's nest. Not like he been.
No, when you lost him and told me, like, I'm letting you know a little secret. I've been trying to get him on the show for a while. If I get him, I want to play Magic with him, even if it's because I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so yeah, no, I I love him. I love his work. I met him, got a squirrel's nest from him. It was a weird thing that he gave me, just bequeathed it upon me. The squirrel's around here somewhere, but but man, his books feel very long, and I feel like maybe they could be shorter.
Actually, okay, so
he's openly said that his books are sometimes a sequence of books he just didn't cut apart. Like,
so here's I got two series to recommend to you.
Yeah.
Steelheart, Firefight, Calamity. The superhero series. They're perfect. Like in terms of size, story, everything like that. He does a great take on superheroes. It's an interesting take on superhumans. It's great. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, it's a whimsical series. It's called Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians. Also very small. You wouldn't recognize his writing. It's
the second series in Mistborn are a lot more tight and a lot smaller, and I find the stories in them are a lot more, I don't know if digestible is the right term, but feel like they're good, sequence. Like they feel like the pacing there is just right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I've read like Elantris, I think is the name of the one.
Yeah, that's his first book.
And it is a lot.
It was the first one. Like I have a lot more respect for that now that I've done my own. I know, I understand. Like, even though mine's a lot smaller, I've decided, like, for me, I've already figured out my niche for my writing career. I want to be the dime novel guy. I want to be the pulpy dime novel guy that makes these crazy stories in like 200 pages or less that wow you, that make you laugh or cry and make you think. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I'm great with that. And people love my stuff. Awesome. If they don't, that's fine too. I already got
Go to hell.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, you could go to hell. No, like I recently did the combination of, or the collection of season 1 for All Gods Fall. I collected it all into one book, and that's all self-published versus Endless Hunger, which is traditionally published. As I was doing, all right, sorry, I don't like to call it self-published. I like calling it independently published. Because hey, if you can be an indie musician, you can be an indie author.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was independently published, and even that, like, it's a lot. I feel like I was looking at them and I'm like, oh god, there's so many words in this. I don't know what to do with all these words in my book.
It's big because it's big and verbose, and it's a big part of what you're doing.
It's a collection of 5 novellas, so of course it was going to be, big.
Right.
Like I think it was, but for me like that whole lot of words is like, I want to say just under 200,000,
which is still huge.
Which is a lot. It's a lot of words, but I feel like Brandon Sanderson's books are like 250,000.
Not all of them.
I know not all of them, obviously.
The Stormlight ones are for sure.
Yeah.
Right. But they're designed like but the thing about him is he's got books for different people.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
Like me, you're whimsical and crazy, you'll love the Librarian series, right? He does young adult stuff that anywhere from 70 to 100,000 words. Like that's where they are. They're not bigger than that.
Stormlight Archives are, I believe, the ones he said that are essentially they're written. I haven't, but it says they're written where it's like essentially he does a book, a side story, a book, a side story, and a book in them, and then he just collects them all together. Which I mean,
that does feel about right. Like he does one every 3 years. He's got 10 of those in him. He figures, and he's done 4. Like I said, I just see now. This is me being. At some point, I have to deal with the storage locker situation in Calgary. I never intended it to still have my stuff there and me here. That wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
But shit happens, right? But if I have to go back, my Aurora Award, some family stuff, and my Brandon Sanderson books are pretty much on my list of stuff to take with me. So if I only narrow it down to 2, and if I have room for anything else, it'd be my Green Lantern stuff and my Ninja Turtle stuff. I have priorities in my life.
We'll put those in there.
Yeah, but because I really do enjoy Sanderson's stuff. It's just like he's got something for everybody. Like Stormlight's for the epic fantasy monster readers. That's not you, right? No, I said that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like you're not that guy.
Well, I mean, the thing is, even the way that I write epic fantasy, I feel like it turns out different than that. Like I still feel like what's going on in this. That's why I did it in the novella version. I decided I wanted to do it episodic because I felt like that created the feeling of a journey more than a big solid book would do. But I mean, you also have to do with what the audience expects or enjoys.
Well, again, he's targeting different people.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like for you, this was almost an odyssey in of itself. For you, like it was. You don't read that kind of stuff, but you tell that kind of stuff. Now, maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. But it just seems to me, for him, that's his niche. For you, this was fun to try, and I feel like that might be the difference.
Well, and the thing that always confused me is that, like, we were just talking about Dark Souls. Like, I'm not against the idea of lore and deep world build. I love deep world building, but it's almost like when the things that I like to absorb, I like to maybe that is discovered. Like I will always go into, whatever the Wikipedia of the thing is, and read
I
all
think
the text. Like it's funny me talking about Game of Thrones being like it feels like reading a textbook when I would legitimately read a textbook on a property I like.
I think I figured it out. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if this
Right.
sounds right. You love doing it by yourself.
I do.
But you hate it if someone makes you do it. That's what I think it is.
Mom.
Right? That's what it is. That's what I think it is. I think it's because books, by their constraints, if you are going to tell that epic story,
yeah,
you have to put it somewhere, right? Right? You have to. But a game has the freedom of going, what's our story really about? And that's it, right? This is what the game's freedom is, right? A crazy game I really like, Catherine. Okay, that's a crazy game. It's anyone that really wants, but it's about a guy thinking about a relationship versus settling down and being single and cheat. Like some really adult stuff is happening in this book.
Demons and robots and yeah.
There's a lot of other over the top stuff, but when you break the story down, it's about a guy about my age trying to figure out what he wants to do for the rest of his life. That's the story. That's start to finish. That's what that story is about. And if you just play the game that way, you still get a pretty cool thing. Mm-hmm. Now it gives you some options. You can choose if you want to do that single guy. You can choose if you want to like which Catherine you end up with. It's entirely up to you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a cool thing. But there's lore there too. Like the game Rapunzel inside the game is a very weird mindfuck inside the game. And it's like, what the hell? Right? Also, it's weird that the more drunk he gets, the better you actually play the actual puzzles later on. It's one of those weird little things. But yeah, nice and tipsy. He's kind of like, there's points he drink. He's good. Drink. He's still good. Drink. Okay, he's a little tipsy. Drink. No, he's fucking drunk now. Holy crap! But
well, I compare that to my favorite game of the last year. Maybe it came out 2019. Control, which is a very odd game that I read every single pickup and collectible in it, every single one, every one of these like heavily redacted, was it SDC styled sheets about all the stuff that does not matter in the game at all. But I read all of them with all that stuff up
because I think I got you, buddy. It's like you like being enticed into the lore. You don't want to be forced into the lore. You're the guy at Sunday school. If he goes, well, thou shalt do this, I will. You find that place to take a nap. Like you go to church to sleep. That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you found a burning bush somewhere. You'd be like, well, where did this come from? And then you find the lore.
I think the perfect actually encapsulation of what you're saying is that I never went to church, but I did take all the religion study classes in university.
Fantastic. Yeah, exactly.
I've never went. I mean, never went to church. I guess would be the best way of describing it. I maybe when I was a baby, my parents took me at least once, and then they stopped going. So what am I going to do? And I've been in churches. Obviously, I don't burn at the threshold. But then when I reach university, I'm like, yeah, let's learn about the Abrahamic religions. I took Judaism as a block week course, just like let's learn about Judaism. So I think that is a great encapsulation of the human being that I am.
Like that's who you are. Like that. Now here's the thing.
I will not be preached to, but I will buy a textbook on it.
Yeah, you will, if it interests you.
If it interests me, yes.
Yeah, if it interests you. You
Yeah.
can be enticed though. So
Yeah.
for you, note to self: if I ever write that baseball ninja novel, what I'll do for you is inside I'll put like a cart, like you know those. Remember those uncut sheets of cards?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you'd be into that. You'd be like,
Okay.
Dad's like, oh sweet, I got cards. And
The
the
cards. Awesome. This game is trading cards.
yeah, and in the back, you read things about all the characters. You're like, oh my god, I didn't know that.
I hit glossaries with an amazing energy. When it's like, oh, this book's got a glossary, I'm like, oh, I'm going to read that. And I don't know why it's so enjoyable.
You enjoy systems, man. There's nothing wrong with liking how a system works. You're like anybody else. You're curious. If you're interested in something, you want to know everything about it. That makes you a passionate dude. You
Well,
just
it's the reason why I do like reading books that are less handholdy, that are just going to say something and be like, and you have to trust in the author or any sort of writer, whether it's television, film, or games or books, that they're going to be like, here's something we just said. You'll get it later. Like it'll become clear to you. We don't need to spend a moment here explaining what this means, to the world at whole. Sort of figure it out for yourself, and yeah.
yeah, it's cool. No, like that's not a bad thing, man. It means that deep down you're like most of us. If you're interested in something, you're passionate about it, and that makes sense considering you do write books. I mean, it does take any podcast, and you do all those things, and you're driven to do it. And
This doesn't say that I can't write the lore heavy books.
oh no, I think like you like systems.
I do.
I think
Yeah.
you're great at lore heavy books. Actually, I think you'd have a lot of fun doing them.
Yeah.
But you'd
take me forever because I think forever about how to introduce information. Introduction of information is the thing that always I think takes me the longest in any sort of editing process, deciding where is this information going to be introduced.
I'm learning how important that is. Like I think there is a point. I think you almost have to let. Yeah, like I still when I write, like I'm not a plotter or a pantser. I'm a planter. I'm somewhere in the middle. I tend to plot out. I plot out chapters more now, but I don't plot them in great detail because I still enjoy the discovery process. There's some really cool lines in that really add to the story because life's about discovery. I want to have that sense of it in my stuff. That all said, structure does definitely help. The more structure I have, the more I think about those things a lot more. And so for me, it's that balancing act of, okay, it makes sense to really pay off the story here.
Mm.
But when I get to that scene, sometimes I'm like, well, let's play with it a little bit. Why not? Then let's see what feels like the most fun for me. I decide by fun, like what's fun for me.
Yeah.
What's your decision usually? Is it fun? Is it right? Like, it feels right? Is it?
No, I think it's fun. Your book's first audience, anything you write, any creative endeavor you go on, your first audience is yourself. And if you're not at least enjoying most of what you're doing, I don't see even if you are making something that somebody else probably will enjoy, if you are not enjoying it to an extent, it will be shown in the product. They will see that whoever wrote this did not care, and it felt like it was just sort of like crapped out. So I think finding the fun and making sure everything that you write, you find some bit of enjoyment in it, I think is definitely the most important thing. With understanding that in the middle, you're going to need to do some of the I don't know what you would call it. Some of the real like gear work. Like, you got to spend some time doing the gears, getting the all this machinery working, and then once it's done, then you can drive the mech.
Yes, that's right. You build it before you drive the mech. You don't try to drive the mech Wow, the wheels are still
Yeah,
on.
you're sitting there on a seat with like a steering wheel in front of you, being like, "Zoom, zoom! I'm in a Gundam."
That's right. And no one, and everybody's wondering what the hell you're doing. And then backing away slowly when they realize that you don't know, they know as much as you do. What are you doing? I
I
don't
don't know.
know. Back away. So
Yeah.
we've learned some things. We've learned some things in this podcast about men
So,
with knives and when to walk away. Just give them your money.
yep.
Yep. And we learned that. We learned that you want to write what Brandon Sanderson does. Just don't want to read what Brandon Sanderson does, which is totally fine.
I mean, I really like the Mistborn series. I really like that series. I got some of those as audiobooks, so I could listen to them again, I guess.
Vin's one of my favorite characters, I think, ever. She's so interesting. Like I loved some of the things he did in that series. The payoffs were awesome. Like they were just really, really good. So
I really like the Wax and Wayne part. I like the whole a little more advanced, not so much medieval tech. But
yeah, actually didn't get there. Like I couldn't find them. Like I could not find them in hardcover. It was like, oh.
I don't think they are in hardcover. I don't think maybe Alloy Law has a hardcover release. I know I just have it in a soft cover.
Okay, yeah. So no,
So.
But I've also enjoyed him going to other worlds. I've enjoyed that very, very much myself. So,
yeah.
Let's see what else. So you just did this big novella release. It sounds like not too long ago, and you collected all that. So
yeah,
are you season 2?
Yep. I'm writing season 2 now. It's taking long. I mean, hey, it's 2020. Everything takes longer than we hoped it would. But yeah, season 2 is currently being written. There's actually a sneak peek of the first chapter of season 2 in the book, so you guys can read that. The title of the first book of season 2, though, will be Elysium Brumel, which I like the titles of All Gods Fall. I'm inordinately proud of them, even though they're just a collection of words. But I guess that's what writing is.
Well, right. Well, actually, when you get right down to it, everything is story and everything is language. I realized something very important. It's like, oh my gosh, we're just telling stories all the time to each other.
Now we're all just lying.
Yes.
We're just lying really well.
Yes. And then the other part I really enjoy is, oh my gosh, language is everything. That's so cool. I want to realize I was like, hey, what I do is important. That actually made me feel more important, not less. So it's like that's a really cool thing. And that I understand that it's like, hey, my words matter. Holy shit.
And I don't want to say I'm brave enough right now to say a release date for season 2, because I don't know, man. 2021 also has been a wild start. So
so this is my philosophy for 2021. I'm going to give it to you right now. I don't care how crazy it is this year. I'm making it my bitch. That's just how it's going to be. And if you don't kill me, I have a date in mind. When I get to that date, I'm just going nuts. I don't care. And if you aren't, and if whatever comes my way does not kill me, I'm going to blow my way past it. I just don't care. I'm not going to talk COVID. We're just going to talk mentality here. 2020 was, I'm going to wait and see what happens. 2021, I'm going to make things happen. That's just the way it's going to be. Now, I like it, dislike it. I don't care. I'm too old to give a shit. So my give a damn is busted. And the older I get, the more busted it becomes. In fact, I think every time it turns my birthday, to give a damn, I give it another shot with the mallet. So I just keep shattering it into little pieces. Eventually, it's going to be like dust. I figure by the time I'm like 45, it's going to be completely dust. And yeah.
Maybe if I get a little bit of your energy, I'll get season 2 launching in 2021. But I mean, for now, it was my first time doing an independent book launch, so it was a learning process. There's a lot of stuff in there. I actually now I got the print ones.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that cover.
No, that's That's an awesome.
Awesome cover. Yeah, I got it done by Elizabeth Piero. I just met her on Twitter. I said, I like your stuff. Draw my nonsense.
And she was like, I will draw your nonsense. It's
She
fun.
did, and she did an astounding job.
So I met so my very first illustrator on the Drink and Draw is Anvu. And so what I'm doing, so I decided to do 3 series. The Cloud Diver, Alice Zero, which was last year. I have a book called Lights Out, which is my one and only dystopian novel. I'm not doing another one. It's just one and done.
Okay.
That I'm doing, and then I'm working on also Parallel Universe Dragon Slaying. So my Parker meets like just crazy killer, Alice and Cloud Diver. And those are going to be my 3 independent series for the third one. I want to have, like, as a cool little gimmick, is I also top of the line, like some pretty amazing, like, female, most of them color illustrators doing covers for each of them. And it's so the first one is Canadian pulpy dragon slaying. That's what it's going to be. She's doing the cover for that one. I'm going to try to talk to a couple of my previous people I've worked with. It's like, I'm doing a Magnificent 7 for the book too. It's like my take on the Magnificent 7, and that's gonna. So I know who I want to get for that, and then I have some ideas for what 3, 4, and 5 are going to be. So it's going to be. I'm just having fun with this. It's like, so let's. Yeah,
I think every author owes it to themselves to do one of their take of Magnificent 7.
Yeah,
or 7 Samurai. I guess if we want to go way back to the original.
So it's a bit of both. It is parallel universes, so I'm combining both. Samurai in the West. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's gonna be.
Yeah. There are a lot of parallels between the old Western genres and those samurai genres.
Oh no, there are lots. Like it's amazing. It's amazing to me how some things truly are universal. It's actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
But so what's your podcast schedule like right now?
So I got my Miss Yes Hires and Abs, my teen drama fan cast that comes out every single Monday. That's where and we're doing our season finale for Starcross is coming up this Monday. We're doing a double episode, so people start listening to this season. It's easy enough to pop back in. That's sort of the nice thing is if you really want to, we have a bunch of different shows we do in there. So you can pop in there, and then my other podcast, The Third Space, which is our comedy world building podcast. We've moved to a bi-weekly schedule, just so that me doing 2 podcasts and Jeremy doing the podcast, and he's working on trying to launch another podcast as well. We've been doing like 230 episodes of this weekly world building podcast, and we're like, you know what? Let's pop it down to bi-weekly so we can do other things as well. But we still want to keep doing it. So it comes out every other Sunday. The latest one was this most recent Sunday, so that was on the 10th. The next one will be on the 24th.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I actually do enjoy that show a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just you two it's 2 good buddies having a lot of fun with world building. And
it's just a lot of nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So that all said, I do hope, like, honestly, this year, I'd love to see you get in Aurora. Come on, man! I want you to join my club.
I think I need to release some. I guess I did release the All Gods Fall.
So put your name in there. I'm going to be putting the Cloud Diver in. For me, I don't need, like. This is going to sound like an arrogant asshole. Jeez.
Hit it.
Yeah. So I don't need it. I wouldn't. Winning an Aurora for my podcast, I would. Don't get me wrong. I would be honored, but I've done that. Winning it for my novels, would be cool, right?
Such an asshole.
Goals, man.
You big old jerk.
Yeah. I have goals. I'm sorry. I just do.
Yeah. No, I really should put things in. I think I put. I don't think I put Thursdays in. I think once for the podcast one.
I voted for it. I remember it because I voted for it. It was part of that. It's like I thought it's like I would love to see you get that shot because I think although you're not what they traditionally look at, and you produce good shows, dude. And I do think your writing's pretty solid. I enjoy what I have read so far. I have not read All God's Fall yet. I need to rectify that at some point, somehow, some way.
All
But
in one chunk now.
yeah, um, but no, you're good at what you do, and I genuinely hope that even this year, even just what you've done last year, people just recognize just how good you are, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know we're wrapping this up, so I don't dwell on too long. But even just before all this started, I like, man, the couple weeks before all this, I was going to go to a writers' conference. I was going to Creative Inc. out in Burnaby. I was going to do some appearances at chapters here in Calgary. I had all these things set up. Of course, there was When Words Collide, my thing I do every single year. But I like all these things. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do. I'm going to do all these stuff to help promote my writing career, and making appearances and going to. I had a table at Calgary Entertainment Expo. I had all these things, and then all of a sudden everything shut down. I'm like, okay, cool. So I finally had the energy and the drive to do something. They're like, no. The year came in and spiked the ball down.
That's right. No, but I mean, the opportunity will come again, and when it does,
everyone's pivoting. I'm pivoting. I'm trying to do more of these online interviews. I'm going to start just streaming onto it. Just games. I figure that, hey, I like to play games. I've streamed before, actually, in the past, a couple of years ago. But it seems like a way that if people read my work and want to hang out with me elsewhere, it gives an avenue. And I'll probably just be doing weekly game streams. I think I'm going to start by playing Dark Souls 3. Actually, play through that again.
Oh, I everybody does that now. He's doing a for a cause. I get involved in the community there. It's a big thing. I'm nearly an affiliate. I've been doing this for a month. Like I'm almost at affiliate numbers now, and I'm hoping to get there by the end of this month. That's my goal. If I can get there, that would be amazing. I feel it's been cool to watch this grow. It's one of those things personally. I never imagined it would go this way, but it did, and made the most of it. As far as
I know a lot of streamers. I know a lot of people who stream games, people who stream art. It's a community that I'm aware of.
You'd be good at it. You're a natural performer. So I think you just let your personality come in. You'll do great. I have no doubt. So what's your stream channel? Do you have it?
Yeah, it's a Straw Dog G2.
Okay. Send that to me. I'll give you a follow. So
my plan is to stream on Wednesdays. I probably won't get one set up for tomorrow. I'm starting some stuff that I can't actually talk about. I get to be one of those people who are like, hey, I can't talk about this, which is always awesome, I guess, if not infuriating. But
we all got stuff like that too. There's things I don't talk about because it's like something
secret dark things.
That's right. Involves levels. Involves guys. So we'll leave it at that. All right. So once again, how people can find you, your latest release, and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
So what?
So your latest, once again, how people can find you.
Oh yes, of course. The housekeeping. I don't know what happened. I assumed you were just wrapping up, and I immediately zoned out. I immediately was like, and now time for Josh to do his stuff.
No.
All right. My latest release is All God's Fall Season 1, called Storms. So All God's Fall Storms, as it's called. It's available. I mean, the link can be found on my Twitter. It can be found on my website. My Twitter is @StrongmanKWeir. That's where I'm most able to be contacted. I'm pretty active on there. I'm also on Facebook, Kevin Weir, author, and my website, kevinweirbooks.com.
Sweet. On that note, Kevin, miss you very much, buddy. Actually, you're a good dude, and I'm really looking forward to the day I have a beer with you somewhere, or a beverage of some kind anyway.
I always get the shorthand.
Yeah. But beyond that, guys, thank you very much for this episode, watching or listening to this episode of Just Joshing, whatever you chose to do. If you want to support this podcast, click the follow button on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. Beyond all that, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark, and I'll see you tomorrow with Hank Philippi Ryan.